Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Russia has said Ukraine has fired US-supplied long-range missiles into the country for the first time. The Ministry of Defense in Moscow said Ukraine used the Army tactical missile system in a strike on Russia's Bryansk region this morning. 5 missiles were shot down and 1 damaged, with its fragments causing a fire at a military facility in the region, it said in a statement. Use of the US missiles was also reported in Ukrainian media, but Ukraine has not yet officially commented. Ukraine's military earlier confirmed that it had struck an ammunition warehouse in the Russian region of Bryansk, but it did not specify whether ATACMS were used. Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has urged Europe to push Russia harder in a speech marking 1,000 days since Vladimir Putin launched a full-scale invasion of the country. Addressing members of the European Parliament on Tuesday morning, 1,000 days since the invasion began on the 24th of February 2022, Zelensky warned that Putin would not stop on his own and urged that Russia be pushed towards a just peace. Zelensky was speaking a day after Washington signaled its permission to use long-range weapons inside Russia. Giselle Pellico, the victim in the mass rape trial that has shocked France and the world, has given her final statement this morning. There will forever be 51 people who have defiled me, she said, and I will have to live with this for the rest of my life. Dominique Pellico admits drugging his then-wife for almost a decade and recruiting dozens of men to rape her in their home when she was unconscious. He is on trial with 50 other men in the southern city of Avignon. A verdict from a panel of 5 judges is expected on the 20th of December. A Hong Kong court has sentenced dozens of pro-democracy leaders to years in jail for subversion following a controversial national security trial. Benny Tai and Joshua Wong were among the so-called Hong Kong 47 group of activists and lawmakers who were involved in a plan to pick opposition candidates for local elections. Tai received 10 years, while Wong received more than 4 years. A total of 45 people were jailed for conspiring to commit subversion. 2 of the defendants were acquitted in May. This was the biggest trial under the national security law which China explosive pro-democracy protests in 2019.
We are gravely concerned by the use of these security laws and the breadth to criminalise conduct protected by human rights to freedom of expression, peaceful assembly and association.
The UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees says a convoy of 109 UN aid lorries carrying food was violently looted in Gaza. 97 of the lorries were lost and their drivers were forced at gunpoint to unload their aid after passing through the Israeli-controlled Kerem Shalom crossing with southern Gaza in what is believed to have been the worst incidence of its kind. UNRWA Commissioner General Philippe Lazzarini did not identify the perpetrators, but he said the total breakdown of civil order in Gaza meant it had become an impossible environment to operate in. Tanzania's president says at least 13 people have died when a building collapsed in the country's commercial capital, Dar es Salaam, and more than 80 people have been rescued. The 4-story building in eastern Dar es Salaam's Karaiku market came down on Saturday. The Prime Minister of the country, Kassim Majaliwa, inspected the site earlier to see progress on the ongoing rescue efforts. He assured the nation that operations would continue until all the missing are accounted for. And 22 people have been rescued after being trapped on a ride at California's Knott's Berry Farm for more than 2 hours. The park's Soul Spin ride experienced technical difficulties which caused the ride to stop, leaving the riders suspended. A video shows mechanics on a lift working to restart the ride.
Of the ride itself. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot of communication going on or any kind of a rescue effort whatsoever.
Later, mechanics were able to lower the ride to the ground to allow the passengers to exit. 2 people were taken away in wheelchairs after getting off the ride. The Soul Spin ride is a fast-paced spinning wheel that rotates in several directions. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.